With the new Pokemon Legends game, Z-A, quickly approaching, I wanted to channel my excitement for it into something creative, and hopefully distract myself until its release, which should be in 1 to 2 days from when this video goes up, depending on your time zone. A key feature of Kalos, the region where the game is set, is Mega Evolution, and that gimmick returns in full force in Legends Z-A, where we've had brand new Mega Evolutions revealed for many existing Pokemon. For the sake of this video, I'll only be discussing officially revealed Megas, and although I am aware there have been leaks, I ask that you keep others in mind in the comments and don't spoil the game for them. As the title implies, I'll be drawing some of the new Z-A Mega Pokémon as people, specifically men, because that's my area of artistic expertise. First off, I think it's fitting to start with the first new Mega that was revealed for Legends Z-A, Mega Dragonite. Taking inspiration from its pre-evolution, Dragonair, Mega Dragonite gains white fluffy wings on its head and a large pearl on its tail. Mega Dragonite is said to be a kind Pokemon, even more so than it is without Mega Evolution. Most people seem a little split on Mega Dragonite's design, but I like it personally. Nothing wrong with the Pokemon being a bit silly. For the artwork, I wanted to give this character a fluffy, soft energy. His body type is more rounded and his pose is laid back, with a peace sign and a gentle smile. I decided early on in the drawing that his hair should mimic Mega Dragonite's head wings, and gave his bangs a wing-like shape by exaggerating this classic, old-school anime style. To add a layered, feather-like look, I kept his bangs separated from the back section of his hair with line art, which also gives the impression that he has a sort of jellyfish cut, with his hair being at 2 different lengths. I drew the blue pearl that's present on Mega Dragonite's tail as a bauble on his necklace, although I could also see it being fun to incorporate into a third, even longer section of hair to tie into a ponytail. For his outfit, I gave him a poncho with ruffled edges and cute white trim all over, to represent the feather shapes on Mega Dragonite's arms. I also carried this motif over onto his socks, which I made loose to give more bulk and interest to the leg area. Loose sock supremacy! His shirt is also oversized, with little claw details on the hem of his large sleeves. I used the accent blue color from elsewhere in the drawing to separate his fitted shorts from the other articles of clothing, as well as adding the striping pattern from Dragonite's belly as an accent on the sides, although on the Mega the stripes are more of a V shape. For finishing touches, I added a pastel sky in the background, with fluffy and colorful clouds surrounding him. I think as a character, he would be super friendly and always willing to lend a hand to someone in need. He definitely has a fondness for air travel and enjoys cloud gazing with his friends. Next up, I wanted to take a stab at drawing Mega Hawlucha. Hawlucha has been one of my favorite Gen 6 Pokemon ever since I found a random shiny Hawlucha in Pokemon Violet and used it on my team for the game's DLC. So I was super happy to see it get some love in the form of a new Mega. Mega Hawlucha bulks up in comparison to his regular form, enhancing its muscles with Mega Energy. Its mask becomes flashier, gaining shiny golden elements, and black accent colors. It's not a huge change to the overall design, but I think it's definitely an effective one. I struggled a bit with the posing initially on this one, although not as much as I struggled with another Pokemon, which you'll see later. I eventually settled on a more active pose, looking like he's skidding to a halt after being knocked back by a strong opponent. I later added in some dust clouds to further boost this effect. Of course, in his infinite confidence, he knows he's not going to lose this battle, as evidenced by the smirking grin on his face. Mega Hawlucha's new mask is a big part of the design, and I waffled a bit on how I wanted to incorporate it. I didn't want it to be exactly the same design as his Pokemon form, but I wasn't sure how to differentiate it at first. I eventually hit on the idea of adding Hawlucha's wings to the sides of the mask, as I didn't plan to include them elsewhere. I also worried that he looked a little, well, bald, with the smooth mask on top of his head without any details. But with the decorative symbol added to his forehead, I don't think it's really an issue. The ponytail I added coming out of the top of the mask also helps indicate that he has hair, as well as mimicking the long orange feather elements of the Pokemon. I also gave him a sort of jacket? Or, sleeves? Sleeves connected with some sort of pointed armor piece? With no shirt. And I know what you're thinking. Leo, do you have no shame? And while the answer is no, I do not know her, I have a very reasonable explanation for this. In my very cursory research on wrestlers, and specifically luchadores, they seem to often be shirtless, and so I am absolved of my sins. I drew him wearing a tattered white loincloth over a pair of tight turquoise pants, with golden boots shaped like the lower legs of both Hawlucha's normal and Mega Evolved forms. For finishing touches, I added highlights to all of the golden elements to make the metallic and shiny texture clearer, as well as a smaller amount of light hitting his ponytail. He strikes me as the sort of guy who cares a lot about his appearance, and despite his rough and tumble nature, he probably has a skin and hair care routine he follows strictly. Next up is Mega Malamar, and this is the design I struggled with the most out of all of them. But also maybe my favorite Mega from this bunch. Perhaps those two things are related, and my standards were a bit high going into this drawing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Malamar had a really interesting marketing campaign from the Pokémon Company, showcasing its enhanced hypnotic abilities in a variety of media, and slowly building up to the actual Mega reveal. Mega Malamar has a larger cranium with a more slender, taller body. The body and head have glowing accents that are unique to the Mega form, as well as a neon rainbow gradient down the body of the Pokémon. It looks more menacing, but also somehow sillier than regular Malamar, in my opinion. And I love that. I've always liked Malamar as a Pokémon, so it'll be on my team in Z-A for sure. So, like I said, this was difficult for me. I actually finished a Malamar illustration before Dragonite or Hawlucha, but, well, I wasn't pleased with the posing of it, so I took another stab at the drawing. And that one was also not up to my standards. I just felt like the two of them were lacking compared to the other illustrations I'd done up until that point. So this time I went back to the drawing board entirely, deciding that I needed to be less strict with myself on how I was conveying Mega Malamar's design elements. In the two original attempts, I was a bit too focused on my first instincts for the design, which isn't the best practice, and it caused the art to turn out stiff. It also didn't help that I hadn't really warmed up properly beforehand either time, which can be a big deal depending on my mood. For the final version, I wanted him to have a lanky body type and a fluid pose. I gave him a purple trenchcoat-like jacket with a large pink collar and puff sleeves to mimic Mega Malamar's top-heavy silhouette. The trenchcoat transitions into a rainbow gradient and then ends in a central point, meeting with the cutouts in his pants in a way that I hope mirrors the triangular shape of the fins at the bottom of Mega Malamar's body. I also included rounded white buttons on his trenchcoat and a white belt with a pink buckle, which ties in with the color of the collar. He has gloves which are colored to match the mismatched light trails that Mega Malamar creates with its tentacles, and a similar glowing effect is also present in the background, with the light streaks all pointing inwards towards the pendulum that he's holding, as an extra on-the-nose nod to the hypnotism aspect. Malamar has black sclera, and I decided to represent this in my design with a pair of small rounded sunglasses. This is one of the few places on the character that have neon highlights present on the inside of the body. I stuck mostly to rim lighting on this one to draw the eye more towards the face, as in the previous illustrations it was a bit distracting to look at. I gave him a hooked nose to read as a little beak-like, and slick back navy blue hair with bright blue highlights to mimic the effect of Malamar's glowing cranium. He has a relaxed but somewhat challenging expression, as if he's goading you into something you shouldn't be doing, and I think that suits him well. He would likely work well as a con artist, using his wit and underhanded nature to scam the less discerning out of their hard-earned coin. Last up is one of the more controversial Mega Evolutions, not because of its design or even the Pokemon itself, but because of how the Mega Stone is planned to be implemented into the game. Mega Chesnaught, alongside the other two Kalos starter Megas, will be locked behind participation in limited timed online battles. While I agree that this is a really bad decision, I still like Chesnaught a lot, and feel I would be remiss not to include a design for its Mega. I've never actually used a Chesnaught on my team before, but I really like its base shiny form and would like to use one in Z-A. Chesnaught's Mega gains more armor, including large pauldrons and spikes on its arms. It has a big red cape billowing off of its back and a golden crest on its head which mimics both a crown and a helmet's visor. For the character, I kept things decently one-to-one. Chesnaught is a bulky fighting type Pokemon, so of course I had to make the human form muscular. I gave him a beard to mimic the spiky fur under Chesnaught's chin, and after trying to add a crown to his head to represent its crest, I decided on mimicking the shape and color with his hair instead. I also gave his cape a big fuzzy trim to further represent Chesnaught's fur. The cape is relatively the same as it is in its Mega form, red and battle-worn. I connected the two sides of the cape with a green string in the center, and also gave him a bandana in a lighter green color to mimic the frontmost part of Mega Chesnaught's shell armor. Speaking of armor, I kept the pauldrons almost 1-to-1 on this design in their shape. I also added a spiked shield to his back to mimic the crown shape on his crest more. For his clothing, I didn't give him a shirt. And well, I don't have a great reason for this one this time. It just felt right. I feel no remorse for my actions here, though. None at all. I gave him some green gloves with a white striped underside like Mega Chesnaught's arm patterning. I also carried over the green color to the wrap at the top of his pants, which are a plain white with horizontal striping. In order to incorporate the golden claw elements, I added spike designs to his wrap. His expression is wise and self-assured, with a battle-ready but relaxed pose that shows he doesn't see his opponent as a threat. I think he would be something of a mentor figure to the Hawlucha I designed, trying to get him to rein in his cocky attitude and teach him to be less impulsive, although I think they're actually more alike than he'd like to admit. And that's all for this video. If you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Leave a comment to let me know if you plan on playing Legends ZA, and if any of these megas would make it onto your team.